In summer 2024, newly appointed United CEO Omar Barada announced INEOS's plan to make United Premier League champions by 2028. With 4 seasons left, it seemed like adequate time for a top down rebuild and a title charge in the 27-28 season. But Rishi has long believed that the claim is a long stretch. In fact, the season of 27-28, which is 2 seasons from now, we will still be hamstrung by the summer window of 2023. In fact, whenever we discuss the club's future and charges, Rishi loves to bemoan the sins of 2023, as he likes to call it. So, Rishi, tell us what a good transfer window looks like.
Andy, before INEOS, if we want to discuss a good transfer window for United, we'll have to go way, way back. Probably 2007 is the last good window because we brought in Owen Hargreaves, we brought in Nani, Anderson, Tevez, and the Da Silva twins, Rafael and Fabio. We went on to win the league and the Champions League double that season, right? So, great window by all accounts. And if you want to discuss a terrible transfer window, it's pretty much most of the subsequent ones. I mean, let's go through the commode of shit shows known as the United transfer window. In recent years, 2020 stands out as a particularly terrible one. It was the summer of Jadon Sancho, or the 90% club, as Mark Goldbridge called it. We chased Sancho all summer, and we ended up with Cavani, Donny van der Beek, Ahmad Pellistri, and Alex Telles. Except for Donny, all the others came in on transfer deadline day on 5th October 2020. Right? That's almost 4 months into the transfer window. You could say Cavani was the only one worth it, but we had him for like 2 seasons and he pretty much picked and chose which games he wanted to play because he wanted to manage his injuries and he also prioritized his national team. Regarding Donny, the less said the better, and I doubt people even remember Pellistri. Ahmad is the only one you could say who has delivered, but he too cost us 37 million pounds and he only had 76 minutes in the Serie A before we signed him. That's humongous money.
So, you make some good points there, Rishi. And we certainly, the Lord knows, we have a lot of crap windows to pick from. You have the shit show of 2020, then you have 2022, where we spent 250 million pounds on Casemiro, Antony, and Licha. Fair to say that none of these players have necessarily paid back the money, right? Because at times, Martinez has been good. Antony had a good first 3 games, I guess, where he scored 3 goals in a row, and then nothing after that. And Casemiro was, let's face it, a has-been who was past his prime, who gave his best years to Real Madrid and then came to United. So among all of these crap windows that we can pick from, why are the sins of summer 2023 the greatest and most damaging ones? And why can't you shut up about it?
So, Andy, the summer of 2023 is the most recent bad transfer window, and the effects are going to linger. These effects will take the longest to get rid of, and it just look at Anthony. It took us 3 years to get rid of him, and even that happened on deadline day, right? So these turds are the hardest to flush down. Look at Sancho; he's been here for 5 years, and even now we are paying part of the transfer fee and part of his salary. If you take the contracts from 2023, it'll take us potentially till 2028 to completely take them off the books. And we heard from Laurie Whitwell that Omar Barada had to do all sorts of financial gymnastics and squeeze every penny possible to get us 4 good signings this season. And that even took Onana and Hoyland leaving very close to deadline day, right? So to challenge for the title, it's impractical if we are still paying for bad players. And that's the reason that the summer of 2023 hurts so much.
Yeah, Rishi, the outgoings are really important because I'm looking at the summer of 2007. We sold Giuseppe Rossi, Gabriel Hines, Alan Smith, Kieran Richardson, Tim Howard, and Phil Bardsley. It's important to get rid of players that are not at the top of their game or those that have bad attitudes, because they tend to corrupt the existing players and the newcomers. They tend to hold the culture back, right? Which is something that we've been struggling for God knows how long. And you also get financial freedom to pursue better players, right? So, in a way, like, again, I just made a video on Scott McTominay, and there's a great argument to be made. In fact, you keep making this argument that he would be better than Mainu in the position where we want him to come off when Bruno comes off.
It's
So he
true.
would have still been good in our team, but we had to sell him to make room for some money. And okay, it's unfortunate that we spent that money on Manuel Ugarte, who's arguably worse than McTominay. But the point is that you have to keep things going, right? There needs to be turnover at the club to make way for better, newer and better
Yeah.
things. And I also feel like incoming players look at the state of the squad and feel relieved that they don't have to play with mediocre players, right? So I'm sure Cunha and Mbumo would have been happy to see the back of Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho, because those are the guys you hear from the outside being, the vultures that are still at the club.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And coming back to 2023, let's go down the list of sins, Andy. Um, if I had to ask you one position which is weak even in the first 11 right now, which one would it be?
You could say it's Sheshko, right? The number 9 position, we don't have a lot of depth in it, and we have struggled with it for a long time. And in fact, we have struggled with it so much that the club sees it as a priority over the most under-invested position in our team, which is the midfield. So the striker position for sure, like Cunha can fill in there. We could use a midfielder, but the starting 11 is probably okay with Bruno and Casemiro. So left wing back and striker would be the two positions I would talk about.
It's funny you should say left wing back because there is a left back at Real Madrid who would be perfect for us. His name is Alvaro Carreras, and guess what? He used to play for us. So in 2022, 2023, he had a superb season on loan at Preston in the Championship. Now, the Championship is a very tough league. I got a lot of respect for people who can hack it in the Championship. Any 19-year-old who can hold his own in the Championship has my respect. So, 1 year in the Championship, and in the summer of 2023, we had just got rid of Teles, which was the right call. And by the way, guess how much we sold him for? 4 million. In the midst of the Saudi gold rush, we somehow came back with a lump of coal. Now, we could have had Alvaro as backup left back. He was keen to be here. And what did we do? Instead, we sent him on loan to Granada and we signed Sergio Reguilon on loan from Spurs. So, sin number one, Andy, sin number one of summer 2023 is not integrating Alvaro into the first team. And consequently, sin number two of summer 2023 is signing Reguilon on loan. Because in the previous season, Reguilon was on loan at Atletico. He played only 11 games there in the entire season. Reguilon is basically Spanish Luke Shaw, but not even half as good when he's available. So we signed a B-Tech Luke Shaw to be backup to Luke Shaw. Make it make sense. And he played only 12 games here till the winter because he was injured. So we shipped him back to Spurs in January 2024. Now, here again, hold on. We had the chance to make things right because Alvaro's loan at Granada didn't go well. He came back to United and we could have held on to him as Luke Shaw was injured again. But we chose to play Amrabat at left back. I remember games where Wan Bissaka played left back while Dalot played right back. And we sent Alvaro to Benfica on loan for the rest of that season. And he was phenomenal at Benfica, okay? He was so good that they bought him on a permanent deal in summer 2024 for £6 million. And guess what? A year later, they sold him to Madrid for £43 million, Andy. They made a £37 million profit on a player that we had a year ago. Okay, not 36 million pound, not 37 million pounds. You can remove 8.6 million pounds from that deal because we had a 20% sell on clause. So they still made like 34, 35 million pounds on a player we had a year ago. And this was a player we could have had for 17 million pounds because we had a buyback clause. We could have got him for 17 million pounds. And 6 months on from the summer of 2024, we paid almost twice as much for Patrick Dorgu. We got him for almost 30 million. And although Dorgu isn't a lost cause, Alvaro would have smashed it at left wing back. Now, I have quotes here from, not verbatim, but I have quotes here from Paul Gallagher, who was a first team coach at Preston. And he says Alvaro played regularly at left wing back for Preston. And this is in the season of 22-23 in the championship. He was smashing it. And all the reservations that Ten Hag had about him, the lack of physicality, lack of pace, they were all unfounded because the championship is a very physical league. And Paul Gallagher was stunned when United didn't buy him. And frankly, I am gobsmacked, right? Uh, Andy, what do you think? Do you think we should have bought him back? Would he fit this system?
First of all, Rishi, I'm a little upset that you reminded me that Amrabat used to play for this team. Because I am just upset, man. I'm beyond upset that we played Amrabat at left back over Alvaro Carreras. Like, what the hell? Like, one ball fraud to another. I'm pretty sure Amrabat would have been questioning why he's playing there instead of Alvaro, right? So we could have spent 17 million in expenditure to buy him back. Instead, we chose to take 8.6 that came in because we had the 20% sell-on clause. On the balance sheet, that's a 25 million swing. That's a big amount when we're breaking piggy banks. And that money went towards Lawmans, I guess. So we have Dorgu, Shaw, and Dallo who can play there now. And our priorities were clearly the 10, the striker, the center mid, and the center back. But this kid wanted to be at United. And did you see this goal he scored for Real Madrid from left back, just from the edge of the box? This was a player that was tailor-made for the Amorim system. How the hell did we prioritize 8.6 million over wanting to go and get somebody that came through our youth setup? Make that make sense, because listen, we're talking about the record of us having all these players in our starting lineup for so many years. We had a guy who is now doing it for Real Madrid, and they paid 43 million pounds for him. That's not chump change. That's good money for a young left wing back. So I honestly, as time goes on, Ten Hag's tenure at this club is going to look worse and worse and worse, because all of the transfer nonsense that he did the whole time that he was here. So I just want to say, man, I I can't wait for more stuff to come out and for us to truly understand how much damage he caused to this club, because we like to blame Ollie, and he did stuff for the culture that we'll never come back from as well. But in terms of the transfer signings, man, every single decision we made was horrible. And we paid 10 million to have Amrabat on loan for one season. So I don't. Before I boil over, Rishi, let's talk about the next thing that you have on your mind. Sin number 3.
Yeah, so fair enough to Alvaro. He wanted to be here, but Ten Hag didn't want him, so he left to do what's best for him. And talking about players who do best for what's best for them, we come to sin number 3 of summer 2023, which is Luke Shaw, the man himself, and we handed him a brand new contract. That's sin number 3, handing Luke Shaw a brand new contract. So we have this left back clusterfuck, right, with Alvaro and with Reguilon. And to compound this, we gave Shaw a new 4-year contract. And Andy, I just want to share the history of Luke Shaw at United real quickly so we understand how bad a decision this was. We signed him in 2014. Guess how many games he played from 2014 to 2018? He played 66 games in 4 years. And I know he had that big leg break against PSV, I think, in 2015, but he wasn't like a model of health before that either, because he played 20 games in the season before that leg break in 2014. And despite only playing 66 games in 4 years, in 2018, we gave him a 5-year contract. He was averaging 17 games per season, less than 17 games per season. And we gave him a 5-year, £150,000 a week contract in October 2018. And in that second contract, from 2018 to 2022, in the first 4 years, he missed 70 games. Now that equals 39 games played per season and 18 missed per season. Okay. In the fifth year of that contract, which is Ten Hag's first season from 2022 to 23, Shaw played 47 games. Now, this is a record for his time at United. Why did that happen? Because A, it was a World Cup year, right? And B, he was up for a contract at the end of it. This brother who had missed like 40 games a season for his first 4 seasons, missed only 3 games in that year from injury. Can you imagine that?
I just want to say, by the way, we just did a live show, and Cyberman, one of our long-term viewers and commenters, he was like, I was being too cynical about Luke Shaw in terms that he's only playing the games just to get into the England squad. Explain that, man. In his fifth season of a lucrative contract, is the first year that he's playing 47 games and is available. Now, listen,
It's his
is
ninth
there
season overall. His
yeah, ninth
ninth
season
season
overall and the
overall.
fifth season of his second contract. So basically going
Yeah.
into a contract year. He's doing that. So okay, you can say he just got extremely unlucky and the first 4 years of the contract he was injured and he couldn't play. But it seems too good to be true in terms of a coincidence, right? So I agree with you, Rishi. This is a huge sin of 2023 that more people need to talk about. The fact that we gave Luke Shaw another contract after he missed as many games as he did. That would be the equivalent of Mason Mount after missing as many games as he did already in his career for us to go give him a 5-year contract now on, extremely good wages, right? That would be the same mistake, us making the same mistake. And I'd be willing to bet my bottom dollar that either they don't offer him the big contract or they give him like 3 to 4 years on really low, like much lower wages, right? Because you can't have. I think Mount makes more money than Mbumo and Cunha both.
Andy,
And he's not a better
don't move
player.
on to the other players because it gets worse with Luke Shaw. It
Yeah.
gets worse
Okay.
with Luke Shaw.
Let's do it. Let's
Now
do it. Continue.
it's the end of 2023, the season 22 and 23, and he's up for a big contract. So we give him a 200,000 pound a week contract in the summer of 2023, and he is on a 4 year contract till 2027. In the first 2 years of that contract, that is from 2023 to 2025, he has played 27 games combined. That's worse than his average over the first 4 years, by the way. But somehow, in the middle of it all, he got fit for Euro 2024 and not even the whole tournament. He played only the final and promptly got injured again. I mean, he's just messing with the fans at this point, right? He's just taking the club for a ride. I don't know how else to put it. Now, this is his third year. Okay, this season is his third season on this contract. He has played every Premier League game. Why? Why, you ask? Well, reason number one, it's a World Cup year, and Tuchel has made it clear that if you don't play for your club, you don't make the squad. And reason number two, he's up for a contract renewal right after the World Cup. This brother is on time, just like a train, brother. Like the best run train in Germany and Japan. He is on time because he's up for a contract renewal after the World Cup. So he wants to play, he wants to be fit. And after a point, you got to respect the pattern. You got to see that this is a player who has a reputation for being injury prone, but he knows how to manage it when he's sufficiently motivated. So, for all the claims of on his day, he's the best left back in the world, handing him a bumper contract was just sinful because those days don't come often enough. They come like the blue moon. So, yeah.
Guys, I just want to say, um, Rishi probably dreams about talking about this on video because this is this is like his favorite topic for so long now. He every time we talk about it, he can't shut up about it. So you got to appreciate and respect the research he's done to pull up all the games that Luke Shaw has played and he hasn't played. Because when you put it like that, I mean, there's got to be at least one person at the club who's looking at the same things that he is, right? Because this is somebody, brother sitting at 1:30 in the morning in India. He spent 2 days doing this research. This is all publicly available information. They even have his training stats. They even know how well he works or how hard he works, what he's eating, how his poop looks like. They have all this data on him, and they still keep giving him these contracts. We know what his poop looks like because that's what he does on the field. But but I'm just saying, Rishi, great job, man. And honestly, guys, smash the like below and leave some love for Rishi because this is a banger of an episode. It's going to be a two-parter at least, maybe even three parts, and that's all thanks to Rishi. So let's just recap. We've covered three sins of summer 2023. We have a lot more to go. We haven't integrated Alvaro Carreras. We let him go. We signed Reguilon instead of Carreras for a 6-month loan. And we gave Luke Shaw a new contract when he's clearly doesn't have his priorities straight in terms of doing the best he can for United. And we're still just talking about one position, which is left back, right? So, Rishi, let's move on swiftly to the next sin of summer 2024.
So yeah, this clusterfuck doesn't end at left back. It continues into the forward line because sin number 4, Andy, is buying 20-year-old Rasmus Højlund for 85 million euro. A player with only 1 year in Serie A. Hold on. Hold that expression because I've got many more coming. So you gotta build from the bottom, right? Because there's some big ones coming and you gotta build up to that reaction. I don't know what your next reaction is going
I'm
to be
just
because
gonna
it
have
gets
my
crazier.
cat on stream for the rest of it, because she's giving the best reaction right now. She's just sleeping. But yeah, anyways, continue.
Yeah. So this is a player with just 1 year in Serie A, and we spent big money on him. So just to give some context, few months before that, we had lost Ronaldo and Cavani, right? Martial was injury prone. And by the way, in this season, Martial played only 629 minutes from from the beginning of season 2023. He played his last game on the 19th of December 2023, and he was completely injured after that. He played only 4 months in the season and only 629 minutes. He played 19 games and scored 2 goals, right? So that's another like sin 4A, maybe not getting rid of Martial. Anyway, continuing on, we had lost Ronaldo and Cavani. Martial was injury prone. Rashford was a left winger. He had had a pretty decent season the season before that at left wing. Weghorst came on loan 6 months ago, and then he was let go in that summer. So we needed a striker desperately, and rumors had linked us with Osman, but Napoli wanted like 120 million euro for him. There were other players linked with the move to us. Kolo Muani was mentioned. He went to PSG for 80 million plus add-ons, I believe. Um, Gonzalo Ramos, 65 million plus add-ons to PSG. Harry Kane was a big name. He had had enough of Tottenham finally, and he had 1 year left on his contract. We were linked with him, but like Tottenham wanted a mega fee, and he finally joined Bayern for like 120 million. So we were never in the running for that, right? Because he's rumored to make 500k per week over there. So you add it all up over a 4 year contract, that's close to 220 million on Harry Kane, and we couldn't afford that. So finally, Hoyland was the striker that we went for, and he had joined from Sturm Graz in Austria for 17 million euro in 2022. He had joined Atalanta from Sturm Graz for 17 million euro in 2022. And a year later, we started bidding for him at 55 million euro. Now, this is a player who had scored 9 league goals in 32 games, and we straight away started bidding at 3x of his previous transfer, which was just 1 year ago. He didn't even hit double digits. Eventually, we kept bidding, and we paid 85 million euro in the summer of 2023 for Rasmus Højlund. Now, this is split into 75 million as fixed fee and 10 million as add ons. But let's count it as 85 million because Atalanta pulled a madness. They 5x'd on Højlund in just 1 year after he scored 10 goals for them. Now, what sort of logic dictates this glow up? Because he didn't like win the golden boot or something, right? Or he didn't help them win the Champions League or even the Serie A. He wasn't that valuable to them. He had only scored 9 goals in the league, and they had like other ballers like Duan Zapata. I think was still playing for them at that time.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
was only 20 years old, and the only 20-year-old players that ever justified 85 million euro or more are, in my humble opinion, Vinicius, Mbappe, and Haaland. And I don't think there are many. Maybe someone like a Pedri would justify that cost. And of course, Yamal is much younger, so he could, and he's not even 20 yet, so you could price him at 200 million also, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
guys, tell me in the comments any other 20-year-olds who were worth 85 million, and I'm sure none of them would be Hoyland.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, even if he did have the golden boot in Serie A, it's still one season, right? It's still one season to say, okay, he has shown me something. Can he do it another season? Because there's so many examples of one season wonders that aren't being able to replicate it in the Premier League. In fact, Florian
Yeah,
Wirtz, who's been doing it for so many years in the Bundesliga, one of the best German young prospects to come out of that league, and you're seeing him struggle in the Premier League. And I'd even go a step further. Jamal Musiala, with all his injury struggles, I don't think he looks as good as he does had he come to Chelsea when he was 18, right? I think
yeah.
the Bundesliga is making him look better than he would be elsewhere. And so we need to look at Hoyland as somebody who is like that as well. And why we would 5x his money does not make sense to me, but I have some context to share with you guys. I need to have a heart to heart with you guys about this. Did you know John Murtaugh is now the director of development at Atalanta? He spent over a decade in senior roles at United as the academy manager, the director of development, the director of football. We paid 21.3 million euros, rising to 41.3 million euros for a teenager with 200 senior minutes in Amad Diallo. Murtaugh was United's director of development at that time, the role that's responsible for youth pathways, long-term talent planning, data and analytics on emerging prospects, and relationships with the selling clubs. The unusually high fee we paid for Amad Diallo, who was basically an unproven 18-year-old, would have required John Murtaugh to sign off on this deal and for him to justify this deal internally. Rasmus Højlund, in August of 2023, we paid 64 million pounds with 8 million in add-ons, or the 85 million euros that Rishi talked about, and he became one of Atalanta's most profitable sales ever. Murtaugh was director of football at that time, so he got promoted after what he did with Amad Diallo. They're like, oh, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about, so let's promote him to director of football. And this position directly oversaw the scouting alignment, valuation models, negotiation strategy, and gave the final approval on major transfers. Exactly what Jason Wilcox is doing now, this idiot was doing back in August 2023. So the fee was kind of seen as a panic premium, which 5x'd Atlanta's investment in 1 year, a decision that was made squarely in under his leadership. So these two deals, Diallo and Højlund, within the space of 2 or 3 years, generated record windfalls for Atlanta, which is far above the typical sales they generate from players that they have. And then in April 2025, exactly 1 year after he left United, Murtaugh joins Atalanta as their director of development, where he's overseeing youth structure, global club relationships, and outgoing talent strategy. Now, I don't know if Atalanta is stupid enough to believe that, hey, if he could pay us that much money, that means he could probably sell our players for that much money, or some dumb shit like that. Or is it just some sort of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, right? Because I don't think there's anything illegal in this, because I'm sure he's gone through the proper channels to get this job. There's no proof of wrongdoing either, but the sequence of events is undeniably convenient. United massively overpay Atalanta for two players that we signed. Atalanta do well with their other business, and Murtaugh ends up moving there. So I have to give a shout out to Shant, actually, who's our first Armenian viewer from LA, because he flagged this pattern to us on a live show, and all of us nearly fell out of our chairs. Even Nelson was on the call at that time. I think Rishi was live as well. And we couldn't believe our eyes because I had to pull it up on screen. Murtaugh is actually the director of development at Atalanta. So shout out to our second Armenian viewer from LA as well, who's Semix, who obviously we collaborate with on the channel a lot. And by the way, Shant is going to be on the channel tomorrow. So lots of Armenian support going on here. Maybe we'll get Mkhitaryan to join at some point as well. But Rishi, man, this whole Murtaugh stuff is very very fishy to me.
Super, super fishy, dude. I don't know how anyone could give that Pillsbury doughboy a job, right? He looks like, I mean, you look at it, the face of the guy, he looks like someone who gets scammed while he's on holiday. And turns out he's the scammer.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's the scammer. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. I think if there is a good journalist out there, he links these dots together, and he goes and questions and he investigates, and he kind of this needs to be investigated, because football is very murky, man. And in terms of shady dealings, this is one of the shadiest couple of deals that you've seen in the longest time at a major club like United. So a good journalist out there, there's a free story for you. Please go have at it, and please vindicate us. So, Andy, we've seen a pattern of mistakes, right? And those mistakes continue from left back, they go into the forward line, and they continue into the midfield. Because let me quickly recap. In 2022, we had signed two midfielders. That's Casemiro for 60 million pounds plus 10 million add-ons, and Ericsson on a free. Ericsson got injured in a League Cup game. I remember it was sometime towards the end of the January
Andy
deadline day.
Carroll. Andy Carroll. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy tackle. Like, it was worse than Sunday League. And on an emergency, we signed Sabitzer on loan in January on deadline day till the end of the season. If you remember, Sabitzer himself was injury prone, right? So now in summer of 2023, we desperately needed a new midfielder to come in. And Ten Hag decided that he wanted to make his team transition monsters. Remember that? Ten Hag wanted to transition from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3, and everything you had seen till then was like a compromise. It was a readjustment after the 4-0 loss to Brentford in his second game in his first season. So this was the summer where we would see what Ten Hag ball was all about. And this brother commits sin number five.
Can I just say before you do that, Rishi, the only thing we
Yeah.
transitioned to is from a real club into a shit show. But please continue.
So, leading very nicely on to sin number five, which is signing Mason Mount for 60 million pounds and giving him the number seven shirt. Andy, what does the number seven shirt mean to you?
Dude, honestly, I was thinking about going into a romantic answer about how, it's somebody bombing down the wing and doing something great. But after watching Memphis Depay, after watching did Cavani have the shirt as well
For a
at some
year,
point?
yeah, for a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cavani had it as
Alexis
well.
Sanchez, one of the worst
Alexis
number sevens
Sanchez
ever.
had it. Oh
Di
my
Maria,
god.
the snake.
Yeah. I think it means it's starting to actually mean less than it used to, right? Because when I think of number 7, it's Ronaldo, right? Ronaldo is the guy that got me, excited about this club. The electricity that he had, the young Ronaldo he's had so many phases throughout his career that people tend to forget. Young Ronaldo could beat like 5 players and score a banger from 40 yards out, and that was just something everyone used to wish. People do this revisionism where like Thierry Henry is the best Premier League player ever, but at his peak, man, nobody was better than Ronaldo. The stuff this guy could do. Jamie Carragher wants to live up Thierry Henry's ass because he works with him. That's totally fine. He wants to sway public opinion. But Ronaldo was something else. So if you ask me what the number 7 shirt means, it means Ronaldo.
Yeah. And since Ronaldo left the first time and came back in 2021 and had that 18 goal Prem season, no one with the number 7 shirt had scored as many goals. So it's a heavy shirt, right? And it's a shirt that needs to be respected. It's a shirt that should be given to a player who deserves it, right? And what did we do? We gave the number 7 shirt to a Chelsea Academy product. Now, I'll give you the numbers for Mason Mount. In 2 seasons and 3 months since he has signed, Mason Mount's numbers are 55 games played, 5 goals scored, only 3 in the Premier League, 2 assists, 2087 minutes played across all comps. So he averages less than 40 minutes per game. In terms of full 90s, that's 23 full 90s. That's not even half a season. And depending on the source, he makes somewhere between 200,000 to 250,000 per week. He cost us 60 million pounds when he had 1 year left on his contract. And we gave him the number 7 shirt. I mean, this keeps getting worse and worse. They say the number 7 shirt weighs heavy on the wearer, and this brother's solution is to never wear it. I mean, I don't know what to say about this because it's a terrible deal for so many reasons. Because he was never a midfielder. He was an attacking midfielder or a winger. He was brilliant in Tuchel's system, but we signed him to play in the midfield. He had played only 2,200 minutes in his last season at Chelsea. That's 24 full 90s. It was a combination of injury and the manager didn't fancy him. They just signed Graham Potter, and I believe Frank Lampard also came in for a bit towards the end of the season. So it was a combination of injury and the manager had too many players. Also, if you remember, they Chelsea went on a frenzy to sign players, so he just didn't get his chance. But he was also injured a lot, and he had a year left on his deal, and we paid 60 million for him. It's For me, it's inexcusable, man. It's just inexcusable. Andy.
Yeah, man. The worst part about this, and I'm kind of going off script here. Worst part about this is that when we make signings like this, it also means we can't make a different signing. And it
Yeah,
also means that we've given a club that wouldn't have gotten any money for him 55 million or 60 million pounds, including add ons. So essentially, you could argue that Chelsea took that money and spent it on Palmer the next season, right?
yeah,
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like we're doing so many bad decisions. It's almost like you're making two bad decisions every time you made one bad decision, because you're signing somebody that you now need to go figure out how to sell. It's almost like a bad trade, right? If you're ever in the stock market trading, the reason why it's so hard to be a day trader or somebody that trades all the time is because you have to be right twice. You need to
yeah,
buy low and sell high, right? Otherwise, you're in the risk
yeah,
of buying high, selling low, or something like that. It's not enough that you time the market once; you have to time it twice. So this is the same problem we're getting into consistently. And listen, I know Mount is not a player that throws his toys out the pram. He's a player that works hard, and Emram seems to like him. Ten Hag liked him. Every coach he's played under, they seem to like him. But
yeah.
what's the point of liking a player if he can't stay fit? And Rishi, don't you have a big bet on what Mason Mount will do for the rest of his United career?
Yeah. So I have this informal bet with Andy. I actually don't even mind putting money down. My bet is that Mason Mount won't play more than 5,500 minutes in his United career. In the 5 years that he's here, he will not play more than 5,500 minutes. That's 61 full 90s. That's one whole season of football. What I'm saying is, Mount will give us one season's worth of football in his 5 years at United. His contract expires in 2028, and that's the only way we'll get rid of him because he's on too much money, right? He has no inclination or motivation to move anywhere, and frankly, there is no suitor for him. There's no one out there for him. The best we'll do is get him out on loan if we can't give him minutes, and there are high chances that he doesn't even full complete that loan. He comes back midway because he's injured, right? And Andy, you said that we made another club stronger because the 60 million we paid for him paid for Cole Palmer. Well, I you want me to make it worse because it's actually worse than that. Should I
Go
go
for it.
ahead?
Well, yeah, what do I have to lose? United is like a horror movie that I'm forced to watch, so let's do it.
Yeah. So we paid 60 million for him. First of all, they got Palmer for 40 million, right? Second of all, because he's a youth prospect, the 60 million is pure profit. And no matter how you pay that 60 million, whether you pay it upfront or over many years, that 60 million is booked as pure profit in the first year. And because of amortization, because the price of a new contract can be spread out over 5 years, Chelsea can technically go ahead and sign 300 million worth of players because of that 60 million that we paid Chelsea, right?
It's
So
more
that
than that though,
300
Rishi,
million.
because they do 8-year contracts.
No, but now the rules have changed from UEFA or FIFA, so you can amortize
Right.
it
So it's
no matter
maximum for
how.
5 years.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
even if
Okay.
you sign them on like a 8-year contract, the amortization is valid only for five
Got
years.
it. Got it.
So over 300 million pounds is Caicedo 115. It's Enzo Fernandez 106, right? It's 220 there, and that's 40 on Cole Palmer. That's another 35 on one of your favorite players, Malo
Malo
Gusto,
Gusto. Yeah. Malo Gusto. Yeah.
right?
Was it 35
And
though? He was like 30, wasn't he? Wasn't he more like 30?
maybe so there's 10 change for them to go and like maybe buy another backup keeper from Brighton. I don't care,
Or
but
pay Nicholas Jackson to go to Bayern Munich.
pay yeah. Yeah, and how the hell do Chelsea swing these deals, man? Because he's going to buy in for 80 million euro with like a 17 million
Yeah,
euro
they're not going to
loan fee.
exercise. They're probably not going to exercise it, but yeah, on paper they have got a
Yeah,
good choice because the Bayern guy was literally laughing about it in public, which I don't know how I feel about that. But
right.
listen, to give you guys some context, by the way, I know Rishi said 5,500 minutes. Bruno, regardless of which competitions we're playing in or how deep we go in, regularly plays over 4,000 minutes a season. So at best, you're talking about 1.2 seasons of Bruno is what you're getting from a 5-year contract from Mason Mount. And honestly, we should probably do the same analysis for Luke Shaw to see what percentage of his games has he actually played over his entire United career. Because I'm sure it won't be more than 40%. I'm pretty sure he hasn't played more than 40% of his minutes. But
Yeah,
Rishi,
yeah.
we've covered 5 sins so far. We have talked about Alvaro Carreras. We've talked about Regulon. We've talked about Luke Shaw's contract. We've talked about Rasmus Højlund and the Pillsbury Doughboy. And we've also talked about Mason Mount and giving him the number 7 shirt. Guys, if you haven't been paying attention, these are all from one summer. Okay? These are all mistakes we made in one summer. I would honestly, is there any club that has made more mistakes? Because we are not even halfway done. That's right. We are not even halfway done talking about our topics. So that takes us neatly to the conclusion of the first part of the sins of summer 2023. We have, and I want to make this clear, 6 more sins left to come in part 2. So you
One sin
better
for each
stay
position
tuned.
on the pitch.
Exactly, one sin for each position on the pitch, and yeah, honestly, it's embarrassing that our club has made this many mistakes in one window, and we're not even covering any of the other windows, which could be, we'd be looking at 50, 60, 70 sins in total. But in one window to make 11 sins, that is impressive. So stay tuned for part 2.
Guys, hit us up in the comments. Tell us what do you think the sins are going to be in the next part of this series of this video. So give us some predictions. What else do you think we got wrong in the summer of 2023?
And we'll see you there.